AirTalk. We're taking your calls at 866-893-KPCC. Susan Whitmore calling in to join us on AirTalk. She's in Pacific Palisades, and she works with parents who've lost a child on dealing with their grief. Susan, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So what are some of the really important things that you do with parents to help them process something as terrible as this?
Well, it'd be the same thing with siblings as well, and in many cases the same as with the children who are extremely traumatized, and their lives will forever be changed by this. First of all, people need to realize that younger children like this look to the parents or any adult or any person that they see as an adult, even a teenage brother or sister or friend or neighbor. So the parents and the older people really need to get themselves educated and trained about how to react around these children, because that's going to make a big difference in their recovery.
And so with kids, how, if you've worked with families where a sibling has died, something like that, how, if they're quiet, do you raise it? Do you try and get them to open up about their feelings, or just let them talk in their own time?
Don't force them to talk. And you have to know what some of the signs are. I mean, the doctor talked about post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of these kids will develop that, so the parents need to know what those signs are. But some of the kids will have a lot of other symptoms. They won't be able to sleep. They won't be able to eat. They'll have nightmares. They're afraid to go out. And these things can develop into problems as they get older if they're not dealt with. And sometimes they seem like they're okay now, and they might be, and then it might hit them later. So you want to encourage them to talk, and one of the ways the parents can do that is by bringing it up with the child in a way that's not, forcing them or traumatizing them. And then also, just how they deal with it and talk about it. Protecting them against all this barrage of, everything that's just coming at them right now is very important. And I would also not hesitate as a parent. I tell this to parents who, when their children, surviving children, go through a death in the family, I tell them to just get them to a specialist and just get them evaluated.
All right. Susan Whitmore, you lost a child, and that's what led you to go into this work, is your own grief process. And how do you talk to people in this circumstance about life later on? Because obviously you never forget the child that you've lost. I can't begin to imagine what that experience is like, but what hopeful thing can you say?
Oh, that's such a good question. You basically let people know that there is hope, that what they're feeling now, which is basically that they don't want to be alive, that they don't believe that they'll ever have another day of joy or happiness again. And so, first of all, as a grieving mother, I'm an example. It's been 11 years for me, so I'm a really good example of life going on and being happy again. But a big part that you tell them is that you have to make a commitment to your own well-being. You have to commit to this, to embracing life again, the same way you would if you had some kind of an illness. And grief, by the way, is not an illness. It's a very normal reaction to the death of someone you love, especially when a child dies. So, of course, Larry, I'm extremely concerned about the parents who've lost all these children, just a mass amount of them all at one time.
And that has to be its own challenge, because I don't know about your grief process, but I presume that you had people close to you who could really focus on you and what your family was going through. Here, you've got such a large number of people traumatized. That's got to make the challenge its own thing.
Exactly. It's like a form of mass chaos right now. If you can imagine, you could take my situation. My daughter Erica died. It was shock. It was unbelievable pain that just came flooding in. And then, yes, you have places where you turn. It's one incident. But now you've got all of these people where there's this just sort of mass shock and all around. People are talking about it, and it's almost like a high-profile case when someone's child is abducted or murdered or been found. It makes it so much harder for people. At the same time, even though they're sort of like the blind leading the blind, they do have each other. And no one can understand better what it's like to lose a child than another parent who has.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. They're going to have their own group and network of people who've suffered the same thing. Susan Whitmore, thank you very much for being with us. You said a lot of really good and important things. Thank you so much.
Welcome. I hope I helped.
I appreciate it. griefHaven in Pacific Palisades. She's founder and president of it. And as you just heard her say, it was from her own grief experience losing her child that she's now working with other families who are going through similar experience.